Hello, everyone. On today's podcast, I'm going to talk about, something that I've heard people say before. That why is God, that God must be evil because, in the Bible it says God is the creator of good and evil. So it means, that's a bad thing because God is evil. The Bible, the biblical God is an evil person, is an evil God. Do not worship him. He's Satan. You know, I've heard people say this a lot, but they do not, the people who say this do not understand, how good and evil works. Good and evil is relative. If you're kind to a thief, right? For example, if God treats a thief well, right? So let me state it differently. If a thief robs a house, right, and kills everyone inside of it, and then leaves, right? Is it okay for God to allow it to happen? Most people say no. If God allows it to happen, that means God is evil, right? But think things through. If God doesn't allow the thief to steal from others, right? Now the thief, do you know the reason why the thief stole? The thief stole because his wife is dying. His children are dying. They have cancer. And he needed that money badly, right? He needed that money very, very badly. So he had no choice but to rob a house and kill everyone and steal it. He killed everyone to hide evidence. So now do you think God is evil for allowing the thief to steal, to kill from people? Some people say yes, some people say no. And that's the problem with duality, with good and evil. In someone's perspective, in one person's perspective, God will always be evil no matter what he does. No matter how kind God is, to evil people, God will always be evil. And to kind people, God will always be kind. If you have an evil mindset to life, you will never see God as a kind person. You will always see him as evil. Because no matter what you do in life, some people will always treat you badly and some people will treat you well. Some people have a cynical view of life and some people have a positive view of life. People who have cynical views of life, will never see things positively. If they read the Bible, they will only see the negative aspects of the Bible and will come to the conclusion that God is evil. While people who have a positive view of life, a neutral view of life, will understand that it's not that God is evil, is that it's based off perspective. God is neutral. God is the God of both good and evil. He's the creator of good and evil. It says so in the Bible. And God is, being omnipresent, it means he is both good and evil, and he is neither good nor evil by default. If he is both good and evil, it means he is neither good nor evil at the same time. So, if God doesn't allow the thief, to kill people, right? It means that God has allowed the wife and children of the thief to die. So from the perspective of the thief, what do you think he'll think of God? God didn't allow me to steal. It means God is evil. Because God didn't allow me to kill people and steal from them. He let my children die before my very eyes. He watched my wife die before my very eyes. He let my children die and by default, he killed my children. He killed my wife. That's the mindset of the thief. From the mindset of the thief, if he knew that God didn't allow him to kill people, right? He will automatically believe that God is an evil person. God allowed his children to die. So from the mindset of that evil thief, that God is an evil person. You see? But if God lets the thief do, what he wants to do, guess what? Another family, will die. But the thief's family members, the money, taken by the thief's family members will be used to help the thief's family members heal. So that's the problem with life is that if God allows sinners to go to hell, right? The sinners will automatically say God is evil. Why? After they spend their entire lives doing evil deeds, they want to go to heaven. If God doesn't allow them to go to heaven, it means God is evil. That's their point of view. Why? Because God should be neutral. God should be kind to everybody. If they want to kill people in heaven, let God let them kill people in heaven too. They spend their entire life killing people. They don't want to go to hell. They still want to go to heaven like everybody else. So if God doesn't let them go to heaven, it automatically means God is evil. Because God wants them to fail in life. And that's an evil thought. If God wants them to fail, it automatically means God is evil. So God is stuck in the point where no matter what God does, people will always see him as evil. No matter what God does, if he saves someone or he doesn't save someone, if God takes all these sinners to heaven, right? Guess what? Now the sinners will be in heaven trying to kill people. And now the people in heaven will not be preyed upon by the evil sinners that should be, that should be in hell. You understand? So the people in heaven will not say God is an evil person. God allowed evil sinners into our midst, among us. Now he's trying to kill us. Now they're trying to kill us here in heaven. Why did God allow sinners to come to heaven to begin with? Well, because there's a lot of people who think, if God doesn't do what they wanted him to do, God is evil by default. And that's why God is usually neutral. God, that's why God gave you free will. You can do what you want, and you have to pay the consequences of it. Do not blame God for your choices. Don't blame God for your choices. God is not evil and neither good. He's neither good nor evil, yet is the creator of both good and evil. And because it gives you the choice to choose between good and evil, you have to make that choice. Would you kill people to save your child, or would you be a smart person and create a GoFundMe or beg a church to help you, beg a charity? There's so many ways you can do to save your children. There's so many ways. Killing is not the only option, but a thief will never think about that. A thief will never think that killing is not the only option. They will think that killing is the only option. So if they make that choice, killing and stealing is the only option. If they make that choice, they have to pay the consequences of that choice. Don't blame God. If God punishes you for doing something evil, don't say God is evil because he punished you for it. It is your choice to make that evil choice. You made that evil choice. Don't blame God for being evil because God didn't side with you. If God punishes you for doing evil, it's your fault. God gave you a choice. You could either, beg people for help, and some people will give you money, or you can steal. You chose to steal. You chose to kill people and steal. So don't blame God if the government comes and kills you, in a few weeks when they find out that you stole from someone. Don't blame God if the neighbor calls the cops while you're trying to steal and kill, and the cops come and kill you while you're stealing from them. It's not God's fault. It's not that God stopped you from helping your children. It's that you made a wrong choice. You could have begged people for help. If your child was suffering, if your children were sick, you had family members you could beg for help. There's internet right now. You can create a donation page and beg people for help. You can go to your neighborhood church. If that church doesn't help you, there are countless churches just in the United States alone. Every street, it's almost covered in churches. You go from church to church, begging people for help. I bet you find at least a few people who will help you. Every Sunday, just go from church to church, every Sunday, begging people for help. It's only a matter of time you'll find someone who is willing to help you. Someone who has the money to help you. Someone who has the means to raise money to help you. If you choose to be a thief, instead of helping, instead of looking for other ways, there's many possibilities. There are many ways you can go about it. But you chose to be a thief instead. And not only did you choose to be a thief, you chose to be a thief that decided to kill others to cover up the evidence. So are you really still gonna blame God if everything backfires on you? That God is evil? Because God didn't help you, because God didn't help you save your children, help you, get away with stealing from people. God is an evil God. Would you really, do Do you really want to blame God for your own crimes? There's a lot of people out there who will blame God for their crimes. They will say God is an evil God because God didn't let them get away with it. God didn't let them get away with it. So God is an evil God. And that's the problem that God has to face, is that no matter what God does, evil people will always see God as evil. No matter what he does, because God doesn't side with them. God doesn't, cater to their needs. Evil people want God to tell me, yes, it's okay to kill an infant. It's okay to kill an innocent child. The child didn't like you. If a child punched an innocent child, an infant newborn punched you in the face, so you beat them to death. You beat an innocent child to death, but you want God to side with you because you were angry. The child pissed you off. The child made you angry. So God should not punish you for that. You should never be punished by the law of your country if you beat an innocent child to death, just because that tiny little baby punched you. You know how babies are. They can't even control their urges. If the child accidentally punched you and you killed the child, you're really going to blame God for not allowing you to get away with the crime? Are you really going to call God evil because God didn't back you up? God didn't allow you to get away with crime. You punched an innocent child to death. You killed an innocent child. But it's fine because the child made you angry. Because the child made you angry, the child punched you first. So the child is the problem, not you. It's the child's fault. It's the child's fault that, you beat him or her to death. It's the child's fault. It's that newborn baby's fault that you beat him to death. It's not your fault. So God should not side with the little baby. God should side with you. And if God sides with that little baby, God is an evil person. Because it was the child that punched you first. This is the mindset of evil people. No matter what God does, he will never be seen as kind. Because evil people want God to always back them up, no matter what. They want God to tell them, yes, it is okay to kill innocent children. It is okay to rape and kill women. It is okay. It is not your fault that that you raped an innocent woman crossing the street. She was the one making all the moves. She was the one dressing. Like a hooker. She was dressing. It's not my fault, man. It's not my fault. She was too beautiful. Are you gonna blame me? Are you gonna blame me? Blame her. It's her fault for being beautiful, not me. So if I rape and kill her, it's her fault. She was born beautiful. That's her problem, not mine. So why is God punishing me for a crime that I did not commit? That's the mindset of an evil person. They will never admit that they did something wrong. And if they don't think they did anything wrong, no matter what God does, he'll be an evil person. If God ever punishes them, they'll only see God as an evil person for punishing them. God should have let them rape that innocent girl to death. God should have let them do it. And God should have let them, get away with the crime. But instead, God didn't. And that's God's problem. God should have let them, let the evil people do whatever they want in this world without any punishments whatsoever. The government should not punish these people, criminals whatsoever. Because criminals always have excuses why they're criminals. So this is why criminals always see cops as evil people, even when, the kindest cops in the world can be killed randomly because, the cop arrested someone who did a crime, who committed a crime. That's enough. If the cops arrest someone who committed a crime, as long as the person that does not believe he committed a crime, he can have his friends and family try to kill the cop. And that's the problem with governments as well, is that no matter what they do, they'll be seen as evil. When they administer the law, because there's too many people in this world. Criminals, they rarely ever admit that they're doing something wrong. They would rarely ever admit that they did anything wrong. There's always a reason why they kill people. They always have a reason why they do evil things. When they have no kindness in them, some of these criminals look for reasons. They've wanted to kill someone for a long time, so they just start looking for reasons to kill people. Oh, he stepped on my shoes. When the truth is, they put their foot out just for someone to step on it. They put their foot out just for someone to step on it, and when the person steps on it, now they have a justifiable reason to kill them. And this is how the world works. And if God punishes them because someone stepped on their foot and they killed them, Why is God punishing them for no reason? That's their mindset. Why is God punishing them for no reason? Is the person that stepped on their foot. What did God expect? Let him go? Did God really expect him, the person to let him go? Obviously not. Obviously not. The person will never, the criminal will never let him go. He must kill them. Just for stepping on his foot, he has to kill them. So if God ever punishes him for that, God is an evil God. If God punishes him for killing someone, who he lured towards that death, he stuck his foot out so that someone would step on it, knowing full well he's trying to kill someone. But God is an evil person for punishing him. And this is the world we live in. This duality world, no matter what God does, in the eyes of an evil person, they will never seem as good because he doesn't cater to their evil deeds. He doesn't let them, continue doing evil deeds. If God doesn't let you continue doing evil deeds, you start to see God as an evil person. And that's the problem with life, But that's it for today's podcast episode. Do not let people trick you into thinking God is evil. It's their mindset, their evil mindset. They will never see God as good unless God lets them get away with, whatever they want. If God doesn't let them get away with whatever they want, then God is an evil person. So that's it for today's podcast episode. I'll talk to you guys later.